For you.
Good.
I was just saying to Carrie, did you read his resolution?
That was the most impressive piece of writing.
I know, right? I was like, bro,
Hi, how are you?
bro must have
How you doing?
watched
Good to
all
see
the YouTube.
All right,
Like
team.
back and watched it.
Hello,
Wow.
community.
So hopefully this goes very quickly.
Good evening. I'm Jamie Floyd,
I'm Elizabeth Caputo.
and welcome to our September fall meeting of the Transportation Committee. Thank you all for being here.
It's good to see new faces.
It's so good to see your faces. Before we begin, Andrew, I see you've been monitoring the door, so would you mind continuing to do that?
Alex is doing it also.
Oh, Alex is also doing it. Okay, terrific, great.
Recording?
We are recording. Thank you very much, Doug. We're pretty good on this committee with not doing this, but I just want to remind everyone, we found out last night, side conversations do distract the owls. And it makes it very difficult for people on Zoom. Hello, Colleen. Happy September. People on Zoom like Colleen to on, and so this is our recorded minutes. So
Hi, everyone.
hello. So to the extent that we not talk too much in this room, except when we're speaking to the record, that would be helpful. Okay, so a quick note that this agenda does not include, NOT not, the 72nd Street bike lane proposal. That will be taken up later this fall. And we will hear a little bit more about that later. But I do need someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda that we do have in place. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Wonderful. Al is also agreeing. Delightful. So, yes, absolutely. I do want to make a note about Jay not being here. Jay let us know, Jay Adolph, that he could not be here, and Sophia Bala will be joining from Prague. If she's not yet on, she will be joining us momentarily. So with that,
Yeah.
Elizabeth will take it away.
So there are 11 members of the Transportation Committee, and we've already discussed who's not coming or who requested a waiver. We don't anticipate any of the new members to be coming onto the committee at this point, so it'll just be us 11 for now. And I guess with that in mind, our first item was to go through a number of things with Colleen, who represents us from the New York City Department of Transportation, and she comes every month, both to update us and for us to sort of inquire about things that we've done and that need follow up.
And she usually has Bob Marley behind her.
Yeah.
Don't leave my side.
For this month, and I've already shared this information with Colleen, but we wanted to go through just a review of the smart curbs. We have a resolution coming later in the meeting, but just a follow-up based on some incidents that I think many of you who are here are aware about and know about. So we're going to have her discuss that, the 72nd Street bike lane, just sort of what the next steps are there. Many of you have been reading in the news and in the press about some new technologies related to autonomous driving and autonomous cars with Waymo, which is Google's subsidiary that handles autonomous vehicles. They're now operating on the Upper West Side, so she's going to give us a quick update on that. And then finally, the 71st Street bike corral, which we have reported to the committee. And I think pretty publicly, but MCB7 worked really hard over a period of the last year with the community at 71st Street to get the bike corrals by the McDonald's successfully moved. And we are anxiously awaiting to hear from Colleen about when that is going to actually happen, when we're going to see ground broken on that, which we very much want to see happen sooner rather than later. So I guess we'll just take them by start. Colleen, does that seem okay with you for going through these things for about 15 minutes? 10 minutes?
You're mute.
You're muted, Colleen.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect.
So, smart curbs. the
Okay,
aftermath.
so the aftermath with smart curbs. So as you know, we came last year and we presented our smart curbs initiative. There was a letter that's dated May 23rd that we had sent to the community board, and we also flagged for elected officials in NYPD. Unfortunately, the timing of it didn't coincide with the implementation of the project. Now, we did receive feedback from Community Board 7 residents and elected officials, and we will continue to explore opportunities to improve the curbside access and turnover. As many of you know, we changed the signage back to what it originally was. I just want to let you know that we do welcome suggestions from the community board and the public in terms of moving forward. We have successfully installed elements that were non-controversial, which are street seats, loading zones, micro hubs, bike corrals, and adjustment to meter parking on Columbus Avenue. Overall, we are more than happy to work with the community board in terms of next steps. But currently, there are no proposals on the table, maybe until next year. So I think you'd have enough time that we can work together along with the residents to determine, what next steps would be.
Great. Anyone, any questions, comments? And we usually start with the public first, so.
Could we hear, what exactly is
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
program?
can you, what we generally ask you to do is come forward and say who you
So the
are
owl can hear
into
you.
this little owl,
Oh.
and you can feel free to sit, but that way we know.
This is a very quick question.
That's good.
That's okay. I just
Tell
wanted,
us your name if you would, and then speak into this owl.
Enid Golden.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just asking, what is the program specifically? I mean, I know that there's going to be metered parking on the side streets. I don't know what that program really is. And I don't really know, I'm not clear on what's happening on Columbus Avenue and what's even the purpose of it.
So just to let you know, Columbus Avenue, we did change the meter parking regulations, which has been working out well. We had initially, as part of our smart curb, we had made a presentation to CB7 last year about curbside access and turnover. And what we did a few months ago was that we installed a parking app, which is pay by app only. And what we did was that we changed the parking regulations on the side streets, West 23rd to West 86th Street off Columbus Avenue. And what we did was that we changed the parking regulation where parking ended until 10 p.m. And we received a lot of oppositions from residents in the area, as well as a few elected officials. So as a result of that, we changed the parking regulation to what it was initially to begin with. That's what we did.
Right, that's what you did now, but what are you thinking about doing going forward?
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
What is it that you're thinking about doing, go after you have, you get more public input and what, you have any thoughts about where this is going?
Well, at the moment, we are not moving forward with anything. We don't have anything that I'm going to present on. We will work with the community board and residents to determine other locations for curbside access and turnover, but there's nothing on the table at the moment, if that's what you're inquiring about.
Thank you.
Any other in-person community votes? Yes.
Well, Rachel Zimak. Hi. I'm still not clear on what you're doing because what is it currently on Columbus Avenue? There are meters, correct, right now?
That's correct. We haven't touched, right now, there was a parking change that was done recently. And it was on the side streets. Just so you know, it was on the side streets of West 23rd Street and West 86th Street off Columbus Avenue. That's off Columbus Avenue.
Yeah, no, I know that. What I'm curious about is currently, are there meters on Columbus Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the purpose of doing this? Are you going to take the meters away from Columbus Avenue? And what is the purpose of the whole thing? Is it to lessen traffic on Columbus Avenue? What is the
It's
purpose?
actually, the purpose of this is to eliminate double parking and to provide more turnover for commercial vehicles. And that's what the purpose is for.
To eliminate double parking on Columbus Avenue or eliminate double parking on the side streets?
It's on Columbus Avenue and the side streets as well.
So what is the problem with the double parking on the side streets? For whom is that a problem?
So double parking, we get lots of complaints about double parking, of course, because it's not safe. It's not safe for other motorists who are driving, who are using that street. It's not safe for pedestrians as well. So we get complaints about that.
I'm still not clear as to why you're doing this, because Columbus
Well-
Avenue is the problem.
Well, here's the thing, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. We've made some changes, and again, we decided not to move forward with those changes. So we went back and installed the old parking regulations that was there.
Have you considered giving residents permits like they do? In San Francisco, they have residential permits for
And
certain
Boston.
streets. And Boston also, yeah, residential permits. Cool.
That is something that we've been asked about, but again, that's a legislative issue that needs to go before city council and your state assembly members.
Okay,
We've raised that issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Requires a change of the law.
okay. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Rich.
Hi, my name is Eva Poditz, and this was not my primary reason for coming tonight, but I'm just going to add it. I live on 83rd Street. I don't always park on 83rd Street, sometimes 87th, sometimes 88th, wherever I can get a parking place. 5 times in the past 15 months, my rear view mirror has been knocked off the car. And once it was a sanitation truck and someone got me the information and I made the complaint. And it took me a year, but I got reimbursed, and I bought the replacement one on eBay and had an inexpensive garage fixing it. So I didn't get premium fancy mirror service or anything like that. But this is outrageous. I mean, it's costing me an awful lot of money just to park my car where I park it legally, close to the curb, etc. But it's because there's double parking on the other side of the street, so vehicles come down and hit my car. And so I think that that should be a consideration somehow too. I'm not sure exactly how.
So Eve, just to clarify, the congestion in your view is increasing the damage to you, the
Oh, yeah,
occurrence of damage to your vehicle.
absolutely. It's
In
always
the
the
last
street
2 years or
side.
so.
Yeah.
Is the double
Always
parking
streets
that you're
actually.
experiencing due to alternate side, and they're moving just to avoid the sweeper for a while?
That's a major thing. The other thing is I live where Roto Shalom is, and some of it's the synagogue services.
It's a lot
You
going
know,
on.
there's a lot. And the other thing is 83rd is the first street going west after the transverse, so everybody comes down 83rd. You know, there's no reason that trucks have to come down 83rd Street. They also, you know, lean on the horn for hours on end in the morning when some people are still sleeping, you know, so it's just whatever.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't, I guess if there's, is there anyone else from the room? I don't know if there's anyone else on Zoom from the community. We can check, or Alex Crawford.
I see a Q&A.
Not with a hand raised,
Okay.
Elizabeth.
I don't think we see hands raised.
What's in that? There's a Q&A. I don't know what.
Good catch. What was the parking reg? Okay, I think that's been answered, and yes, okay.
What is the best way to
Best
send
way to send
comments?
comments, you can send an email to us. You can do that via our website. That's the easiest way. Hopefully that answers your question to whoever submitted it. Okay, so moving along, sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Colleen, in terms of outreach to the community, you had 2 community meetings. You had an online forum where people could submit their comments. And you came to our transportation committee meeting to talk about this. So is that your typical outreach? Is that more than you do, less than you typically do?
It's actually more than what we've done, Ken. We did quite a few outreach about this program, and you know, the community was not pleased. And again, the feedback that we got from elected officials was, can DOT revert the parking back to what it was? And of course, you know, we made the decisions to do that. You know, so I think the outreach we did was very, very much sufficient.
It was pretty robust, it seemed to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. And I think, Colleen, just because this was hitting over the summer, I think that was a big factor for a lot of folks and the fact that we've seen you at some of the meetings. And I think for some people, despite us, it happens on other matters beyond this one where despite our best intentions and we get the word out, people will always say you know, so we are working hard to try to, if there are better ways that you all think we can be more communicative about this. I think, again, to Colleen's point, we did do a very adequate job of notifying people. Could we have said something perhaps at our June meeting? Colleen, you know, I think that probably would have been great if we could have just reminded people. And then we didn't know the exact date. So it hit everyone completely off guard. And I think that's where a lot of the community concern came from.
Yeah, and I think to answer your question, Ken, we implemented this in August, and I think the timing, in all honesty, probably was not great because a lot of people were probably away, and when they came back, they saw these changes, and I think it might have been upsetting. So that's why, you know, we decided, you know, let's revert back to the parking changes and work with the community and residents to improve the process. Is this frozen?
Colleen, I went to the PS9 meeting, and my question is, how many of our residents do you think are bilingual? You never put anything out in Spanish, and MCB7 doesn't have any communications in Spanish, and every other council has English and Spanish. So essentially, like, at least maybe 20% of the population does not know what's going on.
You know, that's an excellent question. We do have a language unit that we work very closely with. And I'm glad you brought this to my attention because in moving forward, we can, and, you know, we will be translating meeting flyers into Spanish language that I can ask the community board to share to that demographics. So thank you for highlighting that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Maxine, thank you. So I think that's it for community again. Howard.
Oh, Colleen, when you said the community was not pleased, as we just discussed, we probably had more community input on this issue than any issue I've been involved in on my time on the community boards. We had 2 robust, and I remember there must have been well over 100 people there, community forums where we broke into small groups, we had maps, and we came up with this plan after years of community involvement. So when you say the community was not pleased, this was the plan that the community came up with. I'm sure, and I completely understand that there were some disgruntled people who didn't like the plan, who called up. But shouldn't the community's formal plans triumph? And secondly, once we came up with these plans, why are they being delayed so long? Delayed until next year. Again, I understand that there are some people who dissented from the plan that we all worked so hard on, that we had 2 community meetings on But why should, again, there's always going to be dissension no matter what you do. Why should that dissension be allowed to nix something that we worked really hard with the community to come up with?
Again, Howard, a lesson learned in this with the implementation was that the feedback that we received was that and you're right, we did do ample outreach, but the feedback that we received is that a lot of residents were not aware of this project, even though we came to the community board and we presented this multiple times, and felt that, they were blindsided. They were blindsided by it. Maybe, we didn't do enough as what we were supposed to do. And, a lot of residents, again, reached out to their elected officials and said they were not aware of these changes forthcoming. So again, I think we need to reevaluate the process, and we need to work closely with the community board moving forward with having more robust outreach.
Can I just follow up? Well, again, we had literally unprecedented outreach. I do
Mhm.
think people have a legitimate concern with advance notice of the implementation of the plan, not with the design of the plan, which again, we spent a lot of time and we had literally unprecedented input from the community. The question I have now is, so we can all, or at least most people can admit there was some the notice, so why are we abandoning the whole plan as opposed to giving the appropriate notice that this is going to be implemented in the next month or the next 6 weeks or the next whatever? Why are we abandoning all the work we did as opposed to correcting the error we made with regard to notice?
So I don't think we're abandoning the proposal. I think what it was, or what it is that, residents were not happy that the parking, that the parking that the parking ended at 10 p.m. They were not happy with that. So, I mean, look, we can work with the community and we can work with the residents to come up with a more, with a timing that works. Maybe instead of going up until 10 p.m., maybe 8 p.m. and so forth. So we're not totally abandoning this. I think what we need to do is, revisit it and work very closely with the board and with, the residents in the area that are going to be affected with these changes.
Okay, I just have a question though. When is that going to happen? This is something we spent years working on. Is there a plan, an implementation plan? And if there isn't, is it really abandoned?
No, we're not. Again, we're abandoning is a very strong word. We're going to look to come to the community board with something, next year, but I don't think we're looking to do anything anytime soon.
I think she's made it clear that it's not
Yeah.
anytime soon.
I got it.
And that it's not abandoned.
It's clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
done.
So, multiple things can be true at the same time. Colleen, I agree with the statements that were made. You did ample outreach. I participated in some of the charrettes and forums. We had many meetings here and otherwise, but as a member of this committee and current vice chair of this board, I also was surprised of the timing of the implementation. What I think could have been done better, because a lot of stuff was done really, really great, was perhaps flyering the blocks, right? To let people know the spaces where they will be parking, what's happening literally in real time or in the future on the block where their cars are parked. I think that's the one of the big missing elements. And I'm glad we're level set. I feel very good that DOT responded to the charrettes and forums with regard to the smart curbs plan, and DOT also responded to the community outreach by saying, we're not happy with the timing here. So I think, a bit of a punching bag here, but I think you've been responsive, and going forward, I think the notices, flyering and posting is probably going to be very helpful. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
I think we're gonna have Sophie.
And a lot of our projects, we've posted, flyers. But, again, when we do this, we get complaints that residents were not aware of it. They didn't see flyers. So, it's a bit of a, mindset in terms of, posting the flyers, and then, we would get complaints that, the flyers, that residents did not see the flyers. So.
And I also would like to say, I wish that our community board was so highly attended and our website was so visited that we were the quintessential, voice of it, but not everybody comes to our meetings or sees or gets our emails, which I encourage everybody to do and continue to sign up because we will get the message out. But yes, there's obviously multiple sources where you get your information.
Mhm. Thanks,
Yeah,
Doug.
and the flyering
Thank you.
is I'm curious for the people who are in the room, how do you get information about when major things are happening in the community?
You just
The
asked me
local
this question.
What?
The local newsletters
Local
From-
newsletters from who?
from next door or
Dutch.
west side.
Okay,
West Side Rare.
so I would, this is not a conversation necessarily for this committee, but for the entire board. I think we need to have a bigger discussion about how we
Communication.
communicate this stuff. So I'll leave it there just to put in the interest of time. But I want to get Carrie first and then Sophia and then Andrew to close things out.
Thank you. I have two questions. First, on the plan itself. The original written plan and the feedback that we were hearing was that this was going to be a pilot of dynamic pricing, where the price would change based on demand. The plan that was proposed, though, was for tiered pricing. That was simply going to penalize people for parking for a longer period of time. Can you shed a little bit of light on how that was what DOT settled upon and whether it considered or will consider implementing the dynamic pricing plan that it had originally told us that it would weigh?
Yeah, so the parking fees that we looked at were structured as follows. The first hour would be $5, the second hour would be $8.25, and then the third hour would be $12. That's the structured fee. And the pricing encourages shorter stay while offering, the option of longer parking durations.
Okay, respectfully, that doesn't respond to my question. So I had originally what you had talked about was a dynamic pricing policy. So if there are 5 vacant spots, there's no demand on that block, the price can be 0. Having a $5 charge doesn't account for that. And by contrast, if there are no vacant spots, then the price should increase automatically, and a $5 price is too little. Has DOT considered implementing a dynamic pricing policy?
You know what? I would have to take this back with my colleagues and ask them because they would be better, best answer that question in terms of dynamic pricing. And I can get back to the board on that one.
Which is the use.
That
of
would
mass
be
transit.
helpful.
Yeah.
A related question that we might need feedback on. One of the things that DOT had said it was going to do in the second phase of smart curbs was install curb sensors that would allow for dynamic pricing. Do you know if that technology has been installed?
From what I know, not at the moment, but again, I can find out in terms of when we're looking to do this or if we are looking to do this.
Okay, and the final question is from your vantage point, I hear you saying loud and clear that the timeline is next year, but is it possible to accelerate that in any way? If we asked for a proposal, for November, because Councilmember Brewer had suggested a few tweaks in her letter. The chair of our board had suggested ways to do supplemental public notice. Those weren't particularly complex, though. So in terms of at least coming up with a plan to solicit feedback about, it seems like that could be done in a relatively straightforward manner rather than waiting 3 additional months.
Again, I will take it back and I would, find out if this is something that they're looking to accelerate and come back to the community board. But I can't promise anything because right now I know the unit is focused on, other projects, but it's something I can take back to them and get back to the board.
Thank you.
All right,
You're
Sophia.
welcome.
Hi, yeah, I feel like my questions have already been asked, but just to reiterate, and I think bigger picture, it's been mentioned several times that DOT did a lot of ample research and outreach, and even as a resident before I was on the board, I was aware of this. I participated in the workshops, and so I think more my question is like Doug said, that Colleen's taking a beating now, but I also feel like this presents as a really good opportunity for the board and our committee to kind of have some self-reflection on how can we actually improve in the next time? And like, I feel like it's our community and this has been years in the making and we want this implemented. So maybe calling for you, like, how can we be more helpful for you so that next time the implementation is better, the outreach is better. So it's not just all on DOT, but we also kind of can take on some of that ownership.
Thank you, Sophia.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Colleen? Just like.
And you know what, Sophia raised a really great point there, several points. And again, I think we as an agency, we would need to work with the board collectively on these initiatives and try to like engage more of the public. And how do we go about in doing that? Like, are there block associations? I know in the past that we've worked with the board and done a lot of outreach to the block associations. We were very successful with the bike corral on 71st, 72nd in Amsterdam by working with the block associations and the elected officials. And, I think these are things that we need to work together to see, who we need to reach out to and how do we get the message across.
Yeah, it's a small number of people that I think are on a lot of the same mailing lists. And it's a question of like, who do we get from, as you said, the next doors and the other places that maybe don't know who Gail Brewer is, but who respond to things on Nextdoor. And like, that's something that Community Board 7 could be helpful with. I think, Andrew, you have the last word and we've got to move on after that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I may be totally wrong. So if I am, someone jump in and say, Andrew, you're totally wrong. But my gut would be that even if you gave like a month or 2 months advance notice, that all of a sudden people are going to have to start paying for spots that they don't currently have to pay for. They would be equally as pissed now than they were. And I think the frustration is that it is so expensive already to live in the city. It is so expensive if you have a car. It's frustrating, particularly if you have to park and drive around, try and find a spot, and then you have to pay for it. And I think that's probably political influence had more of a reason that resulted in, reverting to the old system. So I don't know how much more public planning or outreach or conversations at some point. It's like a political decision. You either want to do it or you don't do it. And sometimes you do something and the outrage results in something being overturned. But,
So you're totally wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Just
No,
kidding.
I think we can all agree that that is, in this particular case, was clearly something that happened because it was almost immediately after an elected official went very public about this, that it suddenly got the kibosh put on it. So I think we'll leave that there, but I do think continuing to work with Colleen on these things, let's try to.
Thank you, Colleen.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Colleen.
All right, so we're gonna.
Hey,
quickly
listen,
go
this made the news, just so you know, it made quite a few news outlets, so.
Yes, it did. Yes, we are aware.
Yeah, and I think that was somebody's press, a lot of people's press shops that, okay, so just quickly to go through these other items. The bike lane meeting, as Jamie mentioned, got moved.
Yeah, just to let you know, with
Yes,
72nd
please.
Bike Lane, we haven't postponed it, just so you know, we just delayed our presentation to CB7 because we want to address some technical aspects of the proposal. However, we do not expect that this is going to be a significant delay in our overall timeline. The plan is that we would come, and we're still going to come and present this later in fall. And implementation will be, next year. And that was always the plan on the table. But our bike unit is they're trying to like finalize some, again, technical aspects of the proposal. Because remember, it's in 2 community boards. So we want to be very mindful of the design when we're presenting this to CB7 as well as CB8. So the delay is, as I said, is not going to affect the implementation timeline.
What we meant was that the postponement, it was the postponement of the presentation, not of the implementation. But we still are very eager to see that presentation as what we're.
Yes, I know. I know the board is very eager to see the presentation, but prior to coming to the community board, and as many of you know this, we always have a pre-meeting with the CB7 leadership and with the elected officials. So that is something we will schedule. So you'll get a preview of the presentation and you'll be able to provide feedback. And the feedback that we get from you and from the elected officials, that's our opportunity to make modifications. So when we do come and present the project, you'll say, okay, well, DOT listened to us and they took our feedback and they modified, whether it's a signal timing or whether they shorten a crossing distance and so forth and so forth. So you will get to see the proposal.
Right, okay, so we have a couple quick questions.
Really quick
Actually,
comment.
Howard, I wanted to first.
Oh, sure.
Continue my line of questioning with Colleen about this. So regarding the lane itself, the Community Board 7 and Community Board 8, we are going to get notifications at the same time, like there's no presentation going on at CB8 this
Correct.
month.
So that's correct.
Like hearing about this from because sometimes we talk amongst ourselves, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't gonna like this based on the scheduling of all of our committee meetings. There wasn't any.
So CB8 will not be getting a presentation in October if that's what you're concerned about. No, they're not.
Wait, not in October.
Not in October.
Okay, so later in the fall, we're assuming this will be November at the earliest.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so Howard.
Just really quick comment. We keep referring to it as a bike lane, but I understand and I hope it's a little more than that. It's just an improvement of the whole street. But again, it's under wraps, so let's not address that. So I do have one question. I noticed West 72nd Street is totally it's being milled, and I was just wondering. I'm just curious why the DOT is doing that now, given that this project is, if not imminent, going to happen in the next several months.
Where on East 72nd Street is being milled?
West 72nd Street. The whole
Oh,
West
I mean,
72nd
sorry.
Street is being ripped up.
Okay, with the entire 72nd is being ripped up?
72nd, yes.
Yeah, it's raw now.
Okay, it's possible that they want to get this out of the way. But let me find out because I'll see what's going on. I didn't know that it's being milled at the moment.
Yeah, it just seems inefficient if they're planning some major rehaul in several months to do this right
Where,
now.
I mean, Howard, where on 72nd is being milled? If you can just let me know. Where
Central Park
exactly?
goes to the Hudson River.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Including parts of the.
I think Ken and then Doug, and then we'll go to if there's nobody forgot to ask, but then we'll go if there's anyone online. Sophia, that would be you. Okay. Yeah, Ken. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Howard said both things I was gonna say, but just on his first point about how the nomenclature for this, we keep calling it a bike lane, but Colleen, you just mentioned earlier something about shortening crossing distances, which implies that there is gonna be infrastructure to make them safer for pedestrians. So I think we're talking about a complete street, and I think we should.
It's going to be, I mean, I don't want to say it's a bike lane, it's a protected bike lane. So it's going to be a really robust design that's going to cater to a lot of protection for cyclists and for pedestrians as well as motorists. So.
And
I think that's a complete street.
Well, I think go with what DOT is telling us, the nomenclature that they're telling us.
Why don't we call it redesign?
It's a street redesign, a complete street redesign.
Our resolution called it a reconfiguration, so.
Redesign, yeah.
All right, so can we start calling it that?
We will call it a redesign based on what DOT has. Let's wait for it. Okay. So
But in advance of it.
We can
That's
call
fine.
it anything you want us to call it, Ken.
I want to call it Amsterdam.
I think sometimes for people who aren't, I think just Ken, if I may, Ken, I think sometimes people who aren't as familiar with the streetscapes as you are and other folks, sometimes will want to know, oh, that's the street redesign program does have to do with the bike lane.
Did we
And they
just,
like
I'm
knowing
sorry.
that it does have to do with the protected bike lane going in.
Okay.
Okay, so again, street redesign, it is moving on.
I apologize. I just want to make sure we're not missing comments.
think
from the
Judge-
committee.
Yeah, this is something that we've talked about before, and it's a kind of a rhetorical question, but Howard brought up the milling on 72nd Street. I know the answer to the question, but I'm still gonna put a request in that it speeds up. The question that I've always had, and many people have had, is why does the period of time from the milling to the repaving take so long? I know because you have to contact many other agencies, including Con Ed, to make sure that everything is ready to go. However, it seems like a protracted period, and during this time, there are a lot of inconveniences, particularly with people that have mobility issues, with walkers, wheelchairs, and yes, cyclists and pedestrians. So I just hope, strollers, I just hope that, I remember when Ed Pinkar was around, I had a one-on-one conversation with them. I just hope that there's some way in the future to shorten the amount of time. I know there's a lot of agencies, but seems like it goes on for weeks or months sometimes. And if we could do a better job, I think we would minimize a lot of inconvenience for people that are walking and rolling on that very rough street.
Very rough.
Yeah.
Very rough street. Okay, just one.
I didn't let Colleen answer, but I assume that is the answer, right? Because of multiple
Bouncing that, I think-
agencies.
So, it's, the reason why we leave the street open, again, it's because we allow Con Ed, Verizon, and other agencies to come and make repairs to their infrastructure. And it takes a while for these agencies to, do the groundwork of whatever needs to be done. And I think too, what draws this back as well is that the issue that we have too is the weather. If we have a lot of rain, that sets us back with our paving. And then keep in mind that the contractor is also milling and paving other streets nearby in your district as well as in other areas. So the coordination and working with the other utility companies, this takes a while. That's why 3 weeks is the most that the street will be remains open until after that, then it's paved. I know it's not the greatest process, but we're trying to improve it.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Colleen.
Maxine DeSetter again. I'm Colleen. I'm a biker and I also own a car. My question is, why are we calling this some kind of safety for crossing the street when a bike lane means that we have to cross 2 streets now? We have to cross the bike lane street, and then we have to stop, and then we have to cross another street. It seems the opposite of any kind of safety when regular bikers like myself, at least years ago, we went to the parks to bike, and the e-bikers are going at least 20 miles an hour, could bike with the cars. Or travel.
I'm sorry, Maxine, and what is your question?
I think we agreed that it was going to be a street redesign discussion.
When we're talking about redesigning and safety, why are we calling the bike lane something safe?
I mean, Maxine, I would prefer not to have a conversation about this until we come to the community board and give a presentation. A lot of projects that we do and we implement are called street safety improvement projects, and they're geared towards safety. Okay.
No, just curious.
And we'd welcome you to come back when we turn to the 72nd
Thank
Street. A redesign, street design.
And I think for the purposes of this group,
This is
we're
just
calling
an
it a
update.
redesign.
Amsterdam,
And it's an
Copenhagen,
update, and
Penn,
we can move on.
Coughlin
We
Street.
can move on.
So this was really just an update.
Yeah.
Everyone know where it's
And just, the only other real policy question that's come up since our last meeting, Colleen, is about these autonomous vehicles and Waymo. And I do think we will likely have a deeper discussion about it, as we go, depending on what the mayor decides to do. My understanding is that at the end of the month, the 8 testing vehicles that are going around the city, he has to do something. The permitting only goes through the end of this month, and then they have to figure out what to do next. But that's why we wanted to ask you, and sort of what the next steps are after the end of September. and anything else that you know right now, especially data from the Upper West Side, where
Yeah.
they're going, what they're doing on
So-
the Upper West Side.
Yeah, so New York City DOT has granted Waymo a permit to test AVs under the city robust safety requirements covering cybersecurity, data reporting, FDNY, and PD engagement standards. As you know, and I'm sure you've heard this, a trained safety driver is behind the wheel at all times, ready to take over control if necessary. So Waymo has obtained a permit from City DOT and the Department of Motor Vehicles as required by state law. Waymo is permitted to test up to 8 autonomous vehicles in Manhattan and downtown Brooklyn until late September 2025. The city DOT approval relates only to testing AV technology. It does not allow for autonomous for-hire vehicles service. FHV companies must obtain a TLC license to provide passenger service. Now, data, I don't have data that I can share with you in terms of the circulations of this. Now, what the current administration is planning to do, I think the mayor is going to announce that because I don't have any insight to that yet until after September. So I would imagine that, the community board will hear something, once, this is completed. I'm sure there's going to be a press release and data that's going to be put out there about this initiative.
Okay, so there's no update as to when or if it will continue on the Upper West Side beyond September 30th.
That's correct.
Okay. Ken, just want to make sure anyone, community, nobody online has a question. Okay.
This isn't about Waymo, this is about another big thing that Colleen was gonna work with us on.
Oh, no, with this, I want to continue with this just to make sure. Okay, I do think this issue with autonomous vehicles, I remember having this same discussion about deliveries and Amazon deliveries about 10 or 12 years ago. And it caught up with us. And I think a lot of the news reporting has been stating just how quickly this sort of new technology comes before community boards get a chance to really weigh in on it. And then it's there and it's everywhere. And so we're really trying, Colleen, to stay on top of these types of things. So if you, on our behalf, could just relay that, to your higher ups and the people who are working on this at DOT. I do think having more community input on something as big as this sooner rather than later would be great. And I think community boards would be a great place to start.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Most
thanks.
definitely. I mean, yeah, I will definitely take that back.
Okay, 71st Street bike crowd really quickly, just.
So let me give you the let me give you the good news. So we submitted the design to our geometric design unit and for markings update. And this is on our priority list. We want to get this done. So I'm told that we're either going to get this done at the end of this year, right? I'm going to expedite this. If not, we'll try our best to do this early 2026. But my goal is to get this done before the year is out, where we install the corrals and remove the bike racks that are on the sidewalk. So fingers crossed, we'll get this done by this year.
Great, thank you. I think we have one more question from Ken before we move on.
Yeah, Colleen, we almost, this relates to my left turn resolution, which I just want to remind the committee I brought to the committee 10 months ago.
Yeah.
And we almost had a walkthrough, but I think we had it, it would have been on an extremely hot day.
Yeah, exactly. 1 week that was.
So can we look forward to that?
Yes, most definitely can. We were planning to do the walkthrough in August, but then it was so hot that we decided August would not be, the best time to do this. So we pushed it back to late September, early October. So we will have the walkthrough. And I didn't forget the requests for the left turning signals. And I will have someone from our signals division present there to explain the requirements and our criterias and what is involved when we make these decisions. And if the locations that we're visiting, if it meets our mandate for left turns. So I did reach out to my colleagues in Signals Division, so they will be at the site with me. So we'll get that schedule in October, okay? Early October.
Okay.
Thanks, Colleen. You're able to stay through and just have these two resolutions that I think.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for all of your input. We will be following up on these items. Oh, great.
Who needs, I guess
Yeah,
either one of us can introduce
Yeah, so-
Andrew. Go ahead.
No, I mean, Andrew Albert, who is, in addition to being a board member of the MTA, has been on Community Board 7 for many, many years and is our chair emeritus of this committee. And
Chair
give
Emeritus.
us enough, we want five minutes
I
of
don't know
your
if I can
best
do it in
update.
5 minutes,
Of
but there's a
Upper West Side
there's a lot of
issues.
stuff.
Tell us everything.
Okay, so Second Avenue Subway Phase 2 as the contract is out and the work is beginning. That will bring the Second Avenue line 3 stops further north and northwest. So it will actually be at 125th between Lexington and Park. So it will connect to both the 456 and Metro North, giving people lots of great connections. That will be the first 106th Street stations, I guess, since the 3rd Avenue L was here. So that's going to be interesting. And the state has already produced some good money for that. So that's wonderful. Also, yes.
Is there a completion date?
No, construction will start in earnest next year. And I think I heard like 29 or 30 for the next phase. The big question is, where does it go from there? Phase 3 brings it into Midtown, but there's a lot of people pushing for it to go further west along 125th Street, even though a lot of subway lines already do that. But in any event, we'll see where that goes. Another thing, I was very fortunate to be at the groundbreaking for the Interborough Express, which is a really exciting project along the New York and Atlantic Railway between Brooklyn and Queens. It's going to connect so many communities. It's going to go all the way from Bay Ridge across Brooklyn, up through East New York, Brownsville, through Broadway Junction, up through Glendale, Maspeth, Elmhurst, and Jackson Heights. That it's going to have 17 subway connections and the Long Island Railroad, and it's going to take only 32 to 40 minutes to do the entire trip.
Wow.
That will change a lot of travel patterns. There's a lot of push, and we don't know where that's going to go, to bring it to LaGuardia Airport after it ends near the 74th Street, Roosevelt Avenue, Jackson Heights terminal. But we don't know, and there's a push to bring it to the Bronx, so it'll be truly interborough, but it will use catenary for light rail, and for it to go over the Hellgate Bridge to the Bronx, it would need to use the same catenary that Metro North and Amtrak use, and that's not likely to happen. So it'll be very exciting when we'll see where that goes. It's also relying somewhat on federal funds, and federal funds might be a little iffy due to the fact that congestion pricing is still here and doing a great job, I might add. It's fulfilling all the goals. It's meeting the financial needs. It's cleaning the air. It's cutting down on accidents, noise, pollution. I mean, it's just doing everything we all knew it would do. So
What's the lawsuit status?
sorry.
The lawsuit status of any congestion pricing lawsuits, are they all?
It's still, they haven't proven their case.
Okay, but I mean, there's nothing imminent.
Nothing imminent, no, nothing imminent.
on.
Yeah, Omni will totally replace MetroCard by the end of this year. It's easy to get an Omni card. I helped somebody get a senior Omni card. It's so much faster, and already 80% of people using the subways and buses are using Omni. And we have, how many months to go to the end? 4 more months or something?
What percentage did you say, Andrew?
Sorry?
What percentage did you say?
80%.
Oh, wow.
80%. I mean, a lot are using their phone even, but they're using the cards as well. And if you're on a bus, it is so much faster to tap than watch the Metro card go down, get digested, and get spit back up 4 seconds later. So now
There is no Omni card in Rome, I will tell you.
no,
I was in the
No
subway
tap card?
yesterday and there's a tap card.
Yeah.
But not a.
tap
not an
technology
actual-
is what everybody's using. Nobody's using these
Yeah.
magnetic stripes anymore. It's ridiculous.
But they do have the paper cards too.
There seems to be an issue with the Omni card online to renew the Omni card and the Omni.
Renew or replenish?
Replenish. And they're telling me for a couple of months now that they're having a problem with Visa. It's an issue between Omni and Visa.
Well, the issue was with Cubic, the company that's doing the Omni and does our turnstiles and Path's turnstiles and lots of turnstiles around the world. But have you set up on your account when you have a senior Omni card?
Yeah.
Have you set up a means to replenish it when it goes below a certain dollar amount?
Yes.
Was it a Visa card or was it a bank account or what was it?
My Visa credit card. And it's Omni is unable to process that. I said, once I go below $10 and $30,
Yeah.
they can't do it, so I have to call up each time. And on the phone, the person responding.
It's a Visa issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Cubic is working on it because they know by the end of the year, it all has to be done.
Oh,
So
okay.
rest
Thank you.
assured, and if not, just communicate with the community board and I'll check into it for you.
You got it.
I have auto pay on my MasterCard, Omni, and it automatically renews. I don't have to do anything. I never have to
Right,
touch the card.
Yeah, that was
It's
supposed to
auto
be with
renew.
Visa. But,
But you sound like you're putting money on the card physically.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, I had to.
Auto.
You can also do it from the machines that are in most of the stations now as well.
Okay,
I just have, what's the point of an Omni card when you just simply use your credit card?
You can use a credit card, but not everybody wants to do that. Some people prefer to have an Omni card and keep their credit card for other things. Let me go on because I know we're pressed for time. Starting around the beginning of the year, subject to a board vote next
Do you have a question
month.
about the Omni card?
I just wanted to mention that God forbid you have your card stolen and have to replace it because it took me 2 months to get it replaced.
If you make a note of your card number, you can have it stopped dead by making a phone call or reporting it at one of the MTA's customer service
I couldn't get
centers.
it to work again, so I had to pay full fee instead of the
right.
$1.45.
Right.
But, yeah, Omni and my card and everybody,
You can do everything at the 20 some odd customer service centers within subway stations, or you can go to Stone Street where the main center is.
yeah, but
Okay, let me just go on with the fare increase. Beginning, around the beginning of the year, fares will increase. The base fare will go from $2.90 to $3, and reduced fares will go from $1.45 to $1.50. The 7-day rolling fare cap will become permanent, which is great news. You will never pay more than $36 a week, no matter how many rides you take. And if you have reduced fares, you'll never pay more than $18 in a week. Express bus fares will go from $7 to $7.25. Reduced fares will go from $3.50 to $3.60. There's a new fare cap for express buses. You will never pay more than $67 per week for all the express bus, local bus, and subway you want to ride if you're an express bus rider. That is a major plus. We did not have that before. Commuter railroads will increase around 4.5%. Monthly tickets will still be lower than they were pre-COVID. And no matter how far you ride, you will never pay, even Montauk or Poughkeepsie, you will never pay more than $500 per month. City ticket, which is, I'm happy to say I was part of planning for, increases from 7 to 7.25. That's riding the commuter rails within the boroughs of New York. And off-peak will go from 5 to 5.25. Peak city ticket and Far Rockaway ticket will become permanent. Far Rockaway ticket was installed because they felt that they are part of Queens, but they never got the city ticket. So there's a special ticket for Far Rockaway because after Far Rockaway, the train goes back into Nassau County for Inwood, Lawrence, Cedarhurst, Woodmere, Hewlett, Gibson, Valley Stream, then back to the city for Rosedale. So that's why Far Rockaway has its own special ticket, which people are very happy about. There are some policy changes. Mobile tickets will auto-activate on commuter trains upon purchase, and they will expire after 4 hours. That is controversial. People were waiting to activate their tickets until they were playing the gamble to see if will the conductor get me before I get off or will he not, or she not. That is why they will auto-activate and be good and expire after 4 hours. So That's pretty controversial. There was a new day pass for unlimited travel until 4 a.m. the next day on commuter trains. So they are doing away with a round trip ticket. You will automatically get all the travel you want, as many trips as you want until 4 a.m. the next day. So that will make that travel more affordable. There's a day pass that will cost $10% less than 2 one-way peak tickets. Unlimited day pass also available for city ticket, Far Rockaway ticket, and those fares are $14.50 peak, $10.50 off peak. So while there will be some increases, there are some fair deals that make it very affordable and a better deal than before all of this happened. So stay tuned. The board still has to vote on these. The $4 of the 4-hour activation, automatic activation and 4-hour expiration is a bit controversial, and I expect people will be speaking at board meetings about that.
The $3 goes into effect when?
Approximately the first of the year.
First of the year. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. Great idea alert from.
So all of this interaction gave us an idea. We can have a special session, a special meeting. Andrew answers the community's questions about the MTA. Your MTA from Andrew Albert.
Yeah.
We are
What do we
really,
think? What do
we
we
are
think?
so fortunate
Good, right?
that our governor and our state legislature realize that our transit system is the economic engine of our city and our region. If you see what Philly and Chicago, Philly's going through it now, Chicago's about to go through it. Philly, massive service cuts, massive fare hikes. A judge just ordered them to restore the service but keep the fare hikes. And the legislature in Harrisburg is still diddling around. They still have not bailed out. Do you know what will happen to real estate values if they cut the 5 commuter lines they're talking about cutting? Unbelievable. We are very fortunate to be here.
Thank you.
I'm feeling the special segment. And from members too.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you know, just bringing it back home from Philadelphia really locally, when the 96th Street elevator is going to be finished?
96th and 81st. Yeah, those are the only 2 on that line that we're likely to get. Andy Byford tried to get you never to be away more than 2 stops away from an accessible station, and that would accommodate that. 110th could do an elevator. I believe they should be ready in 27. End of 26 or early 27 is what I'm hearing.
And the 72nd is done.
Sorry?
72nd Street
On the B and C?
on the 2-3
That's done.
is done, right? It's
Oh, sure.
when-
That's done. Yeah.
So 66 and
153 of 472 stations are now accessible. And they just did for the second time after they did Woodhaven Boulevard on the J and Z. They now did New Lots Avenue, the end of the 3 line, a complete elevator from the street to the platform, no mezzanine. So you can just take one elevator, you don't have to switch and get right to the platform.
I'm just really curious why, I mean, it's already been about a year, right?
It takes a while for these things.
I mean, the Empire State Building was built in 13 months. Why is it?
Because that was going up in the air. It didn't have to be underground. 102 stories, you know, Ken?
Thank you, Andrew, very
Sure.
much for your presentation.
Sure.
I don't see any hands up. Sophia, community on MTA. Anyone here on the MTA? Okay. I think we will turn over now.
Let me just say one additional thing. While you may have observed the MTA's newest cars on the A and C line, the R211s, which have wider doors, fewer seats, wider doors, the lights light up showing you what side the doors are going to open up on. Well, the B train is getting those as well. So you will also see that on the B.
Excellent.
Which unfortunately means we will see less R68 and R68A equipment, which was conversational seating and which let you look out the window. I love those cars.
Like I said, like we said.
Conversational seating, eh?
That's what it's
He
called.
knows more
That's
about
what
the
this is,
system
right?
than
That's what it's called.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Sure.
That was great. Okay, so now we have, it looks like tonight we have 2 resolutions that have come before us. One that you may recognize from previous meetings and discussions, and we're gonna start with that one. Because we are not discussing the street redesign of 72nd, we opened up some time in the calendar, and this has been something that Howard and Ken have really wanted to do for a long time, so we are pleased to give them the floor to present their resolution which is on curb access.
Okay,
Safety.
I'll do it, or start. We, we as a committee and as a board always talk about how safety is our highest priority. This resolution is a way to just sort of memorialize that and emphasize that for the DOT. Unless there be any misunderstanding, we have a
Oh, we're just getting the resolution up. Please
Oh,
continue.
lest there be any misunderstanding about where this committee and board stands, that we value and prioritize safety over free parking at the curb. The resolution talks about many uses of the curb which promote safety, like traffic calming, and daylighting, which this board
Can't hear
has
you.
voted
Can't hear
for.
you. We can't hear you.
So, daylighting and loading zones and preventing double parking. And one reason that we thought of this resolution as a good thing at this point was that we had a resolution recently where we had a request that buildings over a certain size being allowed to propose to DOT without the community, going through the community board for a single space in front of their entrance to make it safer for the elderly and handicapped and anybody else to get access to the curb. And that got voted down by the board. So I felt it was very important that DOT not get the impression that we prioritized free parking over safety. And this resolution is a way to emphasize that we prioritize safety at the curb over free parking at the curb.
You did not hear that?
Did you not hear it enough?
Is this something that the board is gonna vote on or?
Yes.
So
Tonight?
The committee would
We have,
vote,
so,
and
yeah,
the full
so
board would vote at the
so
next full
this
board.
was a resolution or a discussion that we've had previously that Ken and Howard have brought to us in a, I would say, revised or updated form based on what you just mentioned. He laid out the description of what he would like to present to our committee, which he has just done. We are going to discuss it as a committee. We're gonna entertain community comments as well. Hopefully we can have the resolution put up on the screen, so that you can either see it or we can read it. We can read it out loud to you if that would be helpful.
Yes.
But it also is something that once we discuss, we will vote on it. It will then go to our full board for its October 7th meeting and be voted on by the full board. So again, would you like to hear the full thing or just the resolution itself, the therefore clause?
Therefore clause.
Yes.
would be-
So again, this all deals with curbside space.
Let me do the whole thing, because we're back to square one, we're back to where we were 7 years ago, sounds to me. And what I'd like to know is what evidence-based, what the premises for the wherefore are, and whether, and I think the public would like to know, and what the evidence base for the allegations that lead to the wherefore are. What are the evidence base?
So
So,
Ken,
yeah,
would you like to read the full resolution or would you like me to do it and then you to
I
explain?
think your eyesight is probably better than mine.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and read what we have. I just
Want
have
to read from here?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is where it starts. Following facts and concerns were taken into account. There are many possible uses of curbside space in our district. For the past 70 years, the default use has been for the free storage of private vehicles. Other uses of the curb can promote safety and efficiency of our streets by reducing double parking, providing easy access to the curb, and increasing visibility for pedestrians and drivers. Such uses include loading zones and other designated areas where vehicles may pull to the curb temporarily. CB7 has requested loading zones in several prior resolutions. Daylighting of intersections is another use of the curb that is proven to improve street safety. CB7 has twice requested daylighting of intersections in our district.
Excuse me.
Let me finish. Traffic calming treatments such as neck
We'll
downs,
answer all your questions.
mid-block, bulb outs, and chicanes, sorry, I didn't see that. Make streets safer by forcing drivers to be more cautious. CB7 has asked that the unique traffic calming treatments employed on West 94th Street between Amsterdam and Center Park West be replicated on other crosstown streets. Protected bike lanes that run adjacent to the curb have saved lives and prevented injuries to both cyclists and pedestrians since their first introduction in New York City in 2007. CB7 has voted for protected bike lanes on numerous avenues and cross streets. Therefore, be it resolved that when determining how to use curbside space, Community Board 7 Manhattan calls on the city's Department of Transportation to prioritize safety over the storage of private vehicles. Again, this is the proposed resolution by one individual on our committee. It is not, could I just finish?
Two individuals.
I'm sorry, two individuals on the committee. We're going to discuss it. We're going to decide. We're going to eventually vote on some form of this tonight, and then it will go to full board for a full board vote.
No.
So
My question was daylighting. Could you tell people what daylighting is?
Kent, would you like to answer?
Daylighting is where, at an intersection, parking is, any kind of parking is removed at the corner so that when people are crossing, they're more visible to drivers and the people crossing can see traffic coming. So, and there's lots of data showing that improves safety. And the city is actually committed at this point to something like 1,000 intersections a year, I think, to daylighting them. So the city recognizes that it's a safety improvement.
Actually, that's something about daylighting. It is the law in every city in New York State, with one exception, New York City.
Right.
It has been proven time and time again to save lives, but for some reason, New York City got an exemption. So pedestrians in Syracuse and Utica and Ithaca all have this protection. We don't.
Ken or Howard, can you give an example in this immediate area of a daylighted intersection? I don't want to put you on the spot if one doesn't come immediately to mind, but perhaps there is one that comes to mind, unless everyone knows exactly what we're talking about, and then we can just move on.
I think it's probably better to, illustrate where it's not daylighted and how
That's a good
dangerous it
idea.
is.
That's a good idea.
everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
We've asked for this from DOT,
Yeah.
and what was their response? That they're in the process of doing it.
They're working on it.
Oh, wait, we have Colleen on the line.
Colleen, do you want to jump in?
Safety improvement project that we're implementing, we are looking at the corners and we're daylighting those. And again, I know the board had asked for DOT to daylight locations where there's hospitals, where there's schools, and so forth and so forth. So it's not that we can't look at them. It's just that we're focusing on daylighting in the 5 boroughs. So based on our safety improvement projects that we do in each district, all of those corners within that project confines, we're looking to daylight, based on the safety data that we have.
So up at 90s, I knew there was one up on 97th and West End has been daylighted. But you have to go up there to really see it.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, that was pursuant to
After
tragic death.
Tragic death. Yeah.
And it's made a difference.
Okay.
There's no parking.
That's, I see a couple hands raised in the back. Maria is up, I think.
But we have car shares on 99th Street at the corner. So car shares are allowed to be there, but private cars aren't?
Not if it's
At
daylit.
Well, that's not a
Brookside Drive
daylit,
And 99th Street, there's 2 spaces,
yeah,
car shares only. So only car shares can be at the corner, but not.
that's not
a true daylight.
That's not daylighting, those are just, daylighting would remove though, if that was daylighting, it would remove
But
those.
right now, car shares are there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, a lot, what they're saying
So
is,
they'd have to go to.
if they were to daylight that corner, correct, those 2 spots
zip
would be
car, isn't it?
removed, yeah.
No, it was,
It's whatever the,
giveaway,
that went out of
and then
business, and
giveaway
then it
Level
sat there.
City.
99th and Columbus has a car share, has zip car.
Unless the car is invisible, they're not allowed to be there if it's daylight.
So you're talking about the 4 corners?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's happening right now on 86th and West Indian.
And it's usually, what is daylight, 20 feet, is that the?
20 feet.
Yeah, so traditionally daylighting is 20 feet from the intersection back, so however many parking spaces that is.
Right. Right.
It's safer for drivers and pedestrians.
Okay, well, daylighting at right turns makes sense. Daylighting in other situations. And you see this as a bike rider. Daylighting in other situations just invites basically running red lights for bikes and for pedestrians. But, but daylighting in right turns, right where I am, it's daylight. The right turns at 86 in West End, both ways, all 4 ways of daylight. Problem, and if you guys are really interested in safety, I'm going to suggest you make a site visit Tuesday through Friday mornings at 8:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. at 86 in West End and watch the weather. Every single day.
That's where I live.
Dangerous place on the Upper West Side.
Thank you.
It's by far
Yeah,
the most
so-
dangerous place on the Upper West Side. It doesn't, because everybody picking up their food, getting out of their SUVs. to get
Right.
their food. I've seen Maserati. They just leave them in the daylight areas, they park, they walk to the intersections. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
This is all really instructive for us and helpful, and what we'd like to do is just have your comments. I think we're not gonna entertain a ton of discussion about the concept of daylighting in this meeting. So if you have comments about what was the proposal that was just put on the floor, in terms of the resolution, we'd like to just go around the room. If you want to comment for a minute or so, let us know. That will help guide us as we deliberate imminently. We're conscious of time tonight too, so.
94th Street, that's all between Amsterdam and Central Park West. It's all cobblestone and cutouts and stuff like that. And you consider that safe? I know more people that have fallen crossing that street.
Okay.
So that's one issue. The other issue, 82nd and Columbus, the bike lane and people who want to turn left and all the friggin' double parking by police vehicles of the 20th precinct.
We've raised that with them.
That is so unsafe, and it's the cops.
Yeah, we've raised that issue, and there are far fewer vehicles doing that now than there were.
Yeah,
It's
but they're
not
still
perfect,
doing
but
it.
it's less.
They're doing it.
So let me draw everyone's attention to the title of the resolution.
Yeah.
Which is prioritizing safety at the curb. That is what Howard and Ken want us to consider is prioritizing safety at the curb. That is the focus of the resolution and what we've been asked to vote on tonight. Whether members of this committee will vote for it or not, that is their goal with this resolution. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I just want to focus everyone's attention. We have addressed these other issues in other meetings, daylighting and the cobblestones, as Andrew points out, et cetera, et cetera. But this is the purpose of this particular resolution, just to get us back on track. Go ahead.
I just want to say, all of these issues have come up over the years that I've been on this committee. What this resolution tries to do is just generally say that when you DOT are looking at the curb, there are a bunch of priorities. Parking is a priority, loading zones are a priority, but the top priority you should think of the thing that should be foremost in your mind is safety, then everything else. That's all that's saying. And why are we doing this now? Ken said it, because there have been a couple resolutions. One, a loading zone resolution where we felt that the loading zones, this all started with my neighbor who was in her 90s, navigating double parked cars, so that we won't, and that didn't see the light of day. Also, the resolution at our last meeting before the summer where we did not go for giving large buildings the option to have a space in front where people like this neighbor of mine could have gotten in and out of a car without navigating double park cars. So the point is just the general suggestion, a general idea to the DOT that when you're making these decisions, there are a lot of things you're looking at, but keep safety in mind. That should be the top, not the only priority. That should be the top priority.
And I will simply add that it's very difficult to.
Howard, it's Colleen. I just want to add that you raised something that's really interesting, and that's what we're doing. So when we are looking at intersections, and regardless if they involve our SIP projects, we are looking to see whether we can daylight that particular intersection. So yes, you're absolutely correct.
But Colleen, I bet that this resolution is consistent with your mission anyway. It's just to emphasize it and make clear that the community is behind you on that.
And let me just say, Howard, that it's very difficult to vote against safety. And you know that, which is why you've come forward with this resolution. My reticence in voting for it is that we know it's consistent with DOT's mission, and I'm not quite sure how it advances a constructive goal. I'm not saying I won't vote for it, but if I don't, that's why. I like resolutions that are constructive, focused, and actually ask a DOT to do something specific. For example, the left turn intersections, which we're all working toward, or the bike corrals, which we've achieved. So that's my.
Can I address that? Well, you raised an issue. You don't know why we're proposing it for primarily for one specific reason. This committee voted down a proposal to enable large buildings to clear a spot in front, which would enable older or disabled people to easily access the full board. Full board turned it to, exactly, the full board turned it down. So we want to make sure, and I think safety is so important, we want to make sure that there are no mixed signals, that resolution doesn't send a mixed signal to the DOT. And that's the reason for it.
The DOT's mission includes safety.
I'd like to.
Yeah, we just.
Well, I said it, but I think it's important for the board to say it.
I think we'd like to just get.
I think the reason that resolution was shot down was not because people didn't prioritize safety. I think because it creates a very imbalanced process of determining who gets what and why do they get it and when do they get it. I think, as we said, Colleen and DOT already prioritize. So I have no issue, like you said, who wants to vote against, safety, but I also think like we're sitting here, we're the community board, there's so many important things that are going on. We spend so much time determining whether or not we want to just reconfirm via resolution that we support safety. So
We have
I would
another
just
resolution on the table.
urge people to call the question and,
I think
unless
We
there's.
have a lot of people in the public.
if your point has not been made already around this table, again, we're gonna wind this down in a second or two. So I think you both have spoken. If
Not
Just-
to the question.
I didn't.
Okay, if you could just briefly keep it to a minute or less, each of you.
Nobody
you.
is against safety. Everybody prioritizes safety.
Mhm.
But there are many things that are arguable in terms of furthering safety. One of which, by the way, is the fact that the denser a street is, the slower cars drive. Okay, so wide open streets are less safe. They really are.
I don't know, I got to my neck down.
But the point I want to make for sure is you're being asked to vote one way or another for publication tomorrow or Thursday. We all know where, that you're voting for the private storage of private vehicles over safety. That if you vote no, you will be blasted for voting for the private storage of vehicles over safety, and you know that. And that's the problem, and that's what's going on here with the same people who have raised these issues for the last
Okay.
7 years.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you
I
for
don't
making your
dispute
comment.
his point at all, and I'd agree
Yeah.
with it, and I'd say, I think you could say the same exact thing and just put a period after safety, and it doesn't get into all of the implied,
I was gonna suggest that as a
politics and
friendly
everything
amendment,
else.
but I have a
Absolutely.
feeling you're gonna
That
say
would
no.
It's really Ken's.
That's a good point.
You can propose it as an amendment for
I
that.
would be inclined, I
That's a
certainly
friendly
would inclined to
amendment.
support it.
Yeah,
if
I
that
think
were-
that would.
How about any alternative use?
Prioritize safety over any alternative use.
Yeah.
Use of
Any
what?
alter-
But there's also varying degrees, this is why this gets so complicated, and I think we need the extra, like, there's varying degrees of safety, like, I could say, you know, in this case, safety is, you know, 1/8% better, but if we make this change, it's actually a much better use for the community as a whole, so like, the safety benefits may be so tiny compared to the benefit you're getting by
I agree, you can't quantify, we're just saying safety should be one, and then the other things.
Well, you're saying
Well, the concern about over the storage of private vehicles implies, what if there's something that's less safe than that we're saying that we're not including there, right? So we're assuming that the storage of private vehicles is the least possible safe thing out there, right?
Well, it might actually be safer because like parking protected bike lanes.
Well, my point is,
That's
like,
So-
in the interest of time, in the interest of getting our point across to DOT, can we leave it with a period after safety?
That's a friendly amendment.
No.
Well, then does someone want to propose that as a unfriendly amendment? Because once you, no, the reason, and I'm not a parliamentarian, but I'm telling you, once you've presented a resolution, it's no longer your resolution, it's the committee's resolution. So if you don't see it as friendly, then you can go through
Yeah,
a process,
I
which,
don't see it as friendly, but
okay.
we can, you know, I mean, parking can be, could be a safer option. No, all we're saying is that safety is the priority and secondarily should be, private storage of,
I think, I think the problem is the language of storage of private vehicles.
Yes,
Is
absolutely.
a very, political position of
It
a
is a
segment of the,
political,
of the
but safety-
population.
Safety.
So when
trumps that.
people, in my opinion, I think the positive intent of what I think you're saying, which is prioritizing safety, is being overshadowed to other people because it's followed by the storage of private vehicle,
How about
which
if we-
has a lot of other meaning.
Well, I think
How about
if Ken is not,
How about if we say prioritize safety for all users of the street?
Sorry, can I say something? I don't know if you can hear me.
Please.
Sophia,
Um,
we can't wait for you to come back from Prague and sit.
oh
around
yeah,
and
no,
say,
this is my last remote meeting, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at New York City's curb action manual, but in there you have 5 large categories of curb use. And then you have 13 subcategories of use, and safety is one of those 13. And then private vehicle storage, that's for free, is like one of many in one of those 13 categories. So I feel like the discussion now is like pretty limiting. And I feel like, yes, like I'm also not a fan of free parking, but I feel like safety just sounds very limiting because there's so many other uses that I think we can all agree on, like public space or bike lanes or waste containers. Like those are all, or even bike storage, you know? So yeah, I feel like there's so many other ways that like, and DOT's already thinking of safety in all their projects. So to me, it sounds limiting, even though I'm like a huge fan of safety, obviously, but I think we just have to think more about like the curb just has so many more uses and it's not just this or that, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Sophia. Okay, so we have a friendly amendment that was proposed that you are not willing to accept. The question has been called on the original resolution. So I suggest that we
Don't we vote on the
Is there a motion
substitute
on-
first?
Is there an amendment?
Vote on the amendment.
Vote on the amendment first.
Ken, you made,
It was a friendly
you
amendment.
made a
but
friendly
he
amendment.
declined-
So
He declined the friendly
Well,
amendment.
yes,
So
but Ken
we have
also,
no-
excuse me, Ken also suggested an alternative that sounded friendly to me. What was the, what did you suggest?
Just say parking instead of, storage of private vehicles.
Oh, I thought you said other uses or something.
No,
Okay. You took that back.
I didn't like that.
Okay.
Okay, so the resolution as it stands right now is as it's written on the screen.
Well, didn't Ken exceed the parking?
Yes, it says over parking.
Oh, okay, I can see that. Okay, sorry.
Well, why not?
Wait, this is your,
Friendly amendment.
your,
I thought that would be less politically charged.
right.
Okay, so this is,
Safety over.
I'm
But
sorry,
not,
we're,
but not safety over, garbage cans or safety over.
Wait, I'm sorry, as a parliamentarian, and you're better at this than I, a friendly amendment was suggested, which you declined. Now you are essentially redrafting your own. Yeah, well, we're not gonna sit here, I think, as a parliamentary matter and write this resolution over at the table. Either you accept the friendly amendment or you don't,
Okay.
or we call the question on the original.
Ken is revising
Well,
his
and
own,
my
his own.
parliamentary inquiry was whether anybody was making a motion to strike everything after safety.
And I thought. Andrew
Yeah,
would be
Doug,
at-
yeah, I did. Well, Doug raised it, but I can do it or you can do it if you're so.
but he said that that's not,
No,
But
no.
They can move.
They-
and then we
they-
vote on
It would not be friendly, it would just be an amendment.
Yeah.
But
that's, okay.
Don't you vote on
you
the
also have
amendment
people from the
first?
public that.
Okay, you have not
I would
spoken
like
yet
to-
on this issue, sir, so you have
May I say?
one quick comment. We've really got to vote on this.
You know, I mean, it's-
If you could make it quickly, Maria, unfortunately, you've
Very
spoken twice
quickly.
right now. We've got
But
next
it's
scene, sorry.
about the issue, not about.
It's okay. We unfortunately are gonna have to move on with the
Know what
meeting.
daylighting was, it's not a comment on this.
Could you
Very
please-
quickly, I as an outsider stand inherent bias in this entire proposal. Because safety, of course, is the number one need, especially for pedestrians. But it's not opposite private vehicle parking.
Okay,
There are many other issues, including bicycle riders.
thank you.
So
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you for your comments. Okay,
I would just say.
Maxine still has her
Making
hand
the point, this is not controversial. If safety is the highest priority, we should do it.
But-
okay.
Over anything else.
Okay,
Over-
let's stick
over
to
putting
the,
chipmunks
let's
in
stick to the process now going forward. Carrie, thank you for your comments on this. If I understand it correctly, we now we have an amendment, which is simply to say that we are ending, for Andrew, this at prioritize safety, period. Has a question been called on the committee voting?
Was it seconded?
I'll second it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
voting for the resolution minus the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters.
Words.
It's been called as words,
Words.
sorry.
And it's up on the screen right over.
So all those in favor of the amended resolution, please raise their hand.
Well, a vote on the amendment, it's to amend,
Yeah.
and then on
Okay,
the
on the amendment, okay,
resolution,
the amendment.
based on that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the committee. Against. 1, 2 abstaining. That's 0.
I was confused. I think I voted yes.
But this is only whether to amend.
Whether to-
Well, pass.
Well,
So it
it's
doesn't
a-
matter.
I vote yes. I vote yes.
Okay, so 8 to 2 to 0 to 0. I don't see any non-committee members here.
Now we vote on the amendment.
Okay, so the amendment,
Now we vote on the whole resolution.
now we're going to vote on the resolution itself as amended.
Makes
All
sense.
those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Opposed, 0 to 0. We're missing J.
We're missing J, that's it.
So the resolution as amended passes 10 to 0 to 0 to 0. Thank you, everyone. Over to Jamie for our last item.
Okay. The next item, which.
And thanks to the members of the community.
Thank you all.
We're really
very
trying
much.
to include you as much as.
Conflict of
interest here. These guys are on transportation alternatives, and the mission is to eliminate cars in New York City. Mission, reclaim New York City from cars.
Wrong and wrong.
And you're on the board,
I am not.
and you're both
You are
advisory.
wrong. I'm not on the board.
You're advisors.
All right, thank you, Maxine, very much for your comment.
And it's not a conflict, President.
All right, so the next issue on the agenda is a resolution put forth by Carrie Alexander related to DOT's dynamic pricing pilot, which we started with tonight during Colleen's update. This is a resolution that I think I'm gonna let, Carrie and I have talked about it, or at least communicated about it on email, but I think I'm gonna let you take us through it. Even though we talked a little bit about the structure of it, but I think you'll do a better job of it. And then, as we did before, we can have members of the community if they have questions or comments, and then, of course, members around the table. I know it's
There's a
getting
lot of
late.
data, a lot of data and all.
Right, we don't have to dive into the footnotes, so the lawyers on the
Footnotes
table
are
might want to do it.
amazing.
Okay, Carrie, take it away.
Sure, and I'll try to do just a very quick summary of it at a very high level. A lot of what this is intended to do in the first section, just basic census statistics on car ownership in the district, which I think we're generally aware of. In the second section, talking a little bit about how dynamic pricing works and recounting Dr. Shoup's presentation to the Transportation Committee that Jamie had put together last April, and then just explaining a little bit about the background of that. And then in the third section, marching through really the timeline of what DOT had done to both with regards to putting together the dynamic pricing pilot in the first instance in their published guidance, and also in their communications with us, including appearing before this committee in June. And at the very end, in the final section, it's acknowledging more or less that notwithstanding the fulsome notice that they've provided, they really, to use a sports analogy, they fumbled the ball at the 1 yard line. They really, I think, as recounted in Councilmember Brewer's letter and in our chair's letter, could have done a little bit more. And it's unfortunate that that didn't happen. And the resolution section of it really does four things. It reiterates our support for the goals of the dynamic pricing pilot as a whole, and calls upon DOT to, added a word in here in light of their comment, to expeditiously solicit feedback from the community on a revised plan. And the reason that that was included was, a couple of reasons. I've received a few questions about that. And just to explain, in pausing the plan, the mayor's office had said, we're going to go back and get feedback. And so even though we may think it's more than adequate, it's something that's on the table. And in light of what Colleen said, I think it's something that's going to happen anyway. And I think including this is going to help us with the full board later on. And jumping back to the resolution section, calling on DOT to do what they told us they were going to do in the first instance. They proposed tiered pricing, and I think what we were really interested in is dynamic pricing. I haven't heard anything to suggest that they don't have curb sensing technology that's been implemented. It should be something that they can do, and I think it would be helpful for us to actually take a position and say we would like them to do that, especially if they're reconsidering what the plan is going to be. And then it calls on DOT to resume its implementation. So,
Harry, how would this conflict with residential parking permits if that gets implemented at some point?
I don't know that it would conflict at all. So this is a pilot. And part of what DOT was saying, and I think something that gets lost in the conversation, is that even on the blocks that they were proposing to pilot, it wasn't going to extend for the full block. So this is something that they're doing with smart curbs, where they're re-envisioning how we're using the curb space. And they're trying different things to get data on what works, what doesn't, what has public approval, what doesn't. And so I think that this is something that they can do. And if they decide later on they want to either pilot or implement residential pricing, they can. And I think part of the conversation also is a residential parking permit.
It's the exit is the.
Exit this way.
Where it says exit.
If they were talking about doing a partial block, wouldn't the rest of the block not on this get really filled up much more quickly?
Well, I think potentially, but and that's if they implemented a residential permit policy simultaneous with the pilot. I think given the timelines that we're looking at, that's unlikely, given that it would require legislation.
I mean, if you walk down a lot of residential streets, you'll see license plates from all over the country. I have a feeling that those are folks who are actually living here, but just registered their cars elsewhere. Residential parking permits would demand that they have to register in New York State to get that benefit.
Yes,
Which-
and under both the residential parking permit and dynamic pricing.
Dynamic
ostensibly
pricing
they'd be
also?
Charging for use of the curb.
Right. But you could still have a Louisiana or a Vermont plate and yeah, whereas with residential parking, you could not.
Yes.
So can we do this? Let me just ask
Yeah.
Terry a question before you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Do you have more to say in presenting the resolution itself before we begin the dialogue?
No.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay, did you get your question?
I did.
Okay, Andrew.
At any point would dynamic pricing as it's being presented mean that parking would cost less than it currently does? Or would it only cost what it costs now or more?
No, with dynamic pricing, it should potentially cost what it costs now. Part of what Dr. Shoup's presentation included was even with parking being free on the curb now, if there are a number of free spaces, the actual demand suggests that the price should be zero. So the DOT can absolutely design.
So it would
that.
apply to places where you don't pay currently?
That is, as I understand the DOT's proposal, they were going to do this on limited side streets adjacent to the major
Yeah,
axis.
and would this apply to current metered spaces or those metered spaces stay the same or would they be?
I believe it's separate.
Okay, so, got it. Okay. The other thing is just like a comment is government, particularly in New York City now, are trying to regulate dynamic pricing. They find it very unfair and all sorts of problems, so I do find it a bit, I don't know what the right word is, not ironic, but like interesting that at a time when government's saying that private enterprise using dynamic pricing is something that's horrible and problematic and it should be stopped and it should
You
be
mean in
heavily
other contexts?
regulated, it's a problem. Airlines, ticket sales, you know, hotels, I mean, there's Yankee games, is that it's something that as you bet, it's that, you know, it's like kind of an example of saying, yeah, like government saying, you know, it's bad for anyone in the private industry to do it, but in government, it's okay for us to do it.
Well, and I think it potentially reflects a quintessential divide between public and private. I think part of the issues you're seeing in the private space is that often when it's being used, it's to extract the maximum amount of money out of consumers. As this is designed, it should be to maximize the utility and value of the space, but if there is not demand, the price should be zero. And so you can have a more open, transparent system where the goals are to benefit the public.
Just like Wendy's said that their dynamic pricing was to drive traffic in off-peak hours, so I guess it's language and for some, yes, but yes, but thank you.
And again, it's a pilot.
Yes.
So
No, I
it's
got
not-
it. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not-
no, I just.
Okay.
So these are
Elizabeth and then Bill.
two quick questions. One is actually, is Colleen, are you still on? Hopefully. Maybe. Colleen? Well, this is actually more of a question for her. I'm just wondering if, from her perspective, if us doing this resolution, she had mentioned during the initial part of the discussion earlier tonight about how she needs to go back to DOT to talk
Right.
about the dynamic pricing.
Mhm.
Does it sound like this has been like really discussed by DOT yet? And I'm just thinking like, this could really bolster, this resolution could hopefully help her with that. So that was just, Colleen, if you're there, please respond or we'll ask you about it. And then I guess the second was something I asked during the Dr. Shoup presentation, and I'll ask again now, is residents versus, I guess, the dynamic pricing model, is it elastic about who uses the parking? So whether it's a resident or a visitor coming in from out of town or from somewhere else?
As I understand how the technology works, it could, you can, if you're using an app, you can have it account for any number of factors, including what is.
But our resolution does not specify, right?
We don't take a position.
Okay, because I would not be supportive of a resolution that made it sort of exclusively for one class of person with a car.
Say that last piece, so
One class of person with a, whether it was a resident or a person from New Jersey
Right.
coming to see a
So-
theater.
So as I
you know,
recall, he addressed that in the meeting or perhaps in conversation with me, but I do recall him saying that you can manipulate your tool to have residents, have people who work in the neighborhood but don't live in the neighborhood, for example, home health.
Right, but we're
aides,
not
or
weighing
door
in on
people.
that in
We're
this
not,
resolution.
we're not, but
Okay,
just
as
so
long as
we
we're not weighing
understand
in
the
on it,
technology
then
would
that's, I
allow
wanted
for
to make
that.
sure we were not taking an opinion on that in
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
resolution.
but it's very sensitive technology.
No,
When you
yeah,
get to it,
right.
you can't do that.
Well, so I mean, it seems, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, that what you're saying here in the resolution is it's basically saying, hey, look, what just happened in the reversal that was just made at City Hall, we want to bring that back, and specifically with dynamic pricing, because that's what was explained to us during the forums and presentations. So this is sort of saying, even though our chair wrote a very stern letter to DOT, basically saying that didn't like the implementation of it, and of course, our city council member did the same. We're saying, reverse it, go back, and make it dynamic as a pilot. I mean, is that sum it up, sort of?
Well, we're taking the next step beyond our chair's letter. We're saying we agree with what the chair said, that there wasn't sufficient notice to the
Notification,
community.
not
And
implementation.
so
Yeah.
go back and do it properly.
Okay. And so one of the concerns that I don't think was brought up yet, but as opposed to,
But do it.
Yeah.
right, as it relates to,
That's the operative word.
as it relates to the whom, right, I'm concerned about not only people that are living here and the home health aides and all that, but also customers
Yes.
that come to
Yeah.
our restaurants and
Yeah.
to our stores, and, you know, how do you account for that? I want to make it easier for them to come here and shop and spend money in our district and not harder. So I want to just be super careful about not having a deterrent to coming to the Upper West Side because it becomes too expensive and, oh, hell, let's go to the other neighborhood that doesn't have dynamic
But
parking.
he's saying that's not part of the.
Okay, well, no, I mean, it's fine.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's why
part
I'm
of our
asking to
resolution.
correct me. Yeah.
Right, and no, and the intent behind dynamic parking, or dynamic pricing rather, is to make it so that people can come to the neighborhood.
Right.
Whether you're trying to park your car
Right.
to go
Because it
shop at
encourages
a store, have a
moving,
restaurant,
circulating.
exactly.
circulating.
Well, and as someone who, may I speak, as we have a member of the public, do you want to come here, because you've not come here yet tonight? As somebody who drives along, if the street is entirely empty and you park at a metered spot to do your shopping, but the street's empty, you've still got to
Still pay.
pay the very high now metered fee, right?
Sure,
But if it's dynamic and the street's empty.
it could be free, right?
It could be
Or very
free.
cheap, yeah.
Or it
But
could
are
be a
you
lot if
saying
it's very
it's a
tight.
free, sorry, but are you saying it's a free street now? We're adding this to where?
Yeah, but you might have to circle around 10 times if it's, yeah, I mean, this can. free up some
Opportunity
space.
cost.
Well, I
And
think
It's
it's
just that sort of a different way of thinking about the curve for drivers as well.
So it would be free for a limited period of time,
Could be.
right? In other words, it's not
There's so
free
much
for
that-
the whole 24 hours. If it's dynamic parking and there's less demand, it could be free, but after a certain period of time,
It's Friday night,
then
it's Friday night, and it's a rockin' neighborhood.
there's a,
People still pay.
Does that-
Congestion pricing is the same thing. People are, there's congestion, people are driving in, you're just making it more expensive.
But if it's dynamic, does that encourage people to drive around looking for the best deal until they find it one they like?
Well,
Well,
so,
sorry.
Go.
Well, presumably it's based on the whole area. I guess what you're saying, and I'm sure this is, it's a concept now. The
Right.
incredible details as to whether it ends at 9 PM or
Of
8
course.
PM and how often they change, that needs to be worked out. It's all, we're just being asked to endorse the concept. The elephant
Around the head, just saying like whether or not it's gonna be an empty block and you're gonna be going around, like there's demand for parking, there's a lot of people, you're not gonna have
It's not gonna
empty
be empty.
blocks
But
of stuff. You're basically saying you're taking what is, you don't pay for right now, and you're charging
But that's
people.
why I asked Carrie the question, which, is there a thought to, as where this zone would be?
yes, DOT had provided maps that illustrated exactly where it was gonna be
Oh,
used.
so
It's gonna
the
be
zone
between
that was
West
going
to
Center
okay,
and
got it.
East.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the, and the resolution asks Can I ask for that?
It refers to the parking
Yeah,
zones, but
we
it's
should-
the same. It
Okay,
was what they're
because
proposing.
it was- I was
Same
confused
Okay,
on it.
I have
Same grid.
slipped in controlling the conversation. I apologize to our member of the public who has been waiting to speak.
I thank you. My name is Paul Schreiber. I live around the corner.
Thank you.
When these parking wars first started, I did a bunch of research. One of the amazing things I discovered is that when you break down car ownership here by household, you discover that more people live in households with cars on the Upper West Side than live in rent stabilized housing on the Upper West Side.
Mm.
Look it up. 70,000. The garage next door is $995 a month for a base sedan, net of tax, pre-tax. We have people all over this neighborhood. I know they're friends of mine, they're relatives. They have their children visiting. They host dinners, they host poker games, they have people coming in and out. It isn't just car owners versus non-car owners. It isn't just cars, e-bikes. I bike 50 miles a week because I'm trying to stay alive. And I have a car. And there's somebody sitting at this table who used to sit in the passenger seat of one of my cars 30 plus years ago.
Let's stay focused on the resolution, please.
But the fact is that, all right, this resolution, well, I'm speaking to the metrics because the metrics were in the body of the resolution. I think this community board needs to do a lot more discovery before it moves to resolutions on subjects that we may or may not know much about.
Well, okay.
And on this
Finish your thought.
dynamic pricing,
Mhm.
is it just the metered spaces? Already metered? Is it more metered spaces? Are we going to take more spaces away? I don't think you can get into any of that without examining exactly what the basis is and what the numbers are, and understand that what you're doing is you're increasing pricing, not just for people who use the street, but for people who use garages too, because the less street parking there are, the much more expensive the garages get. Again, the number is about 70,000. The majority of people in 3 and 4 person households and up have cars in this neighborhood. Look at the census data, they did it.
Our numbers are slightly different, reflect on that document there while someone else speaks. I'm also gonna limit this conversation to about another 3 or 4 minutes because we do have to get on.
Well,
with our-
that's, my point is, again, I think a lot more knowledge about what is happening here has to go in before this board continues to make resolutions in this area.
Thank you, Paul. I will also say this is a pilot. Remember, the point of the pilot is to study.
Understood.
Okay, to study the dynamic pricing model in a block or 2, or maybe 5. It's
Well,
not,
no, it's 73rd to 86.
okay, but it's to
Just to be
study
very-
a range of blocks.
Yeah.
And when DOT comes back, they may come back and only do it in a smaller
Yeah.
range of, given the pushback, right? So we don't know what
But
the
we're,
new
but we're
model
saying,
is.
but all of the changes that just happened that were just reversed, I think what we're saying, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, we are saying to bring it back to that grid. 73rd to 86 Central, Amsterdam to Columbus, I believe.
We're saying to
Or is it
note,
Central Park to
well, I don't
Amsterdam?
want to speak for Carrie. We're saying, please notice us on what you're planning to do with dynamic parking in a pilot program. Pilot the program. Let us know when it's coming and what it is so that we can adequately notice the community.
So, yes.
Is that not what we're saying?
And we're saying, we're asking DOT to solicit feedback on pricing structure, hours of operation, and the location of the parking zones. And to put a little more context, they were talking about 70 parking spots out of what Dr. Shoup told us was 12,300. So relatively small number of potential spots that we're discussing.
So it might look, it might be exactly the same footprint, might be
Say
different.
12,
but
that we have currently 12,300 in this district.
Yeah.
Right, okay, and then, okay, notwithstanding future daylighting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Got it.
Okay, so let's take comment from those
Future
who have
loading
not
zones.
commented. We've heard from Andrew, we've heard from Andrew, Ken and Howard.
Sophia has her hand raised too.
Oh, Sophia, I'm so sorry. Can we hear from Ken and Howard and then come to you? Is that all right? Thank you. Go ahead, Ken.
Do we have the morning burn or something?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna probably call the question. Go ahead.
Email to Carrie earlier, part of it that I have a problem with, which is that as we heard from Colleen, they did a lot of outreach. They actually did more outreach than they normally do. I just think if we include the second sentence in the decretal where we say that they should solicit more input and evaluate it, I feel like we're just telling, we're slandering DOT in a way by saying that they didn't do adequate outreach, which they did, and we know they did. And so we're sort of telling a lie. You know, the mayor's office may have said this in their infinite wisdom, but that doesn't mean we have to say it. We don't have to tell the lie. We don't have to repeat the lie. So I'd be in favor of just taking out that sentence and leaving it. I mean, what their sin was not properly noticing the community. They gave us a day's notice. There were nothing was put up in the neighborhood. That's easily remedied. This other part could take months.
But Ken, it only calls upon the
Just
DOT.
expeditiously.
It doesn't accuse them of not having done so.
Well, the implication is they didn't do it right the
I think
first
there's a
time.
reference earlier in the resolution
Yes.
to where.
Do you want to make a friendly amendment?
Yeah, I'd like to try it from.
It says failed to provide adequate supplemental public notice.
Which focuses
So we
just on the one day.
disagree with
Right,
that-
wasn't there another reference though to
Didn't
the,
Beverly send a letter? So we're,
Well, on the implementation, I believe.
well, that's what,
That is what
We're
Beverly
undid
said
that.
in her letter, Ken.
Both.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, right, so, and what I told Ken was I generally agree. I think there was more than sufficient notice. I,
No.
Outreach.
there was,
outreach and, well,
No, the notice.
well, they did, well, I thought there was notice in what they were doing in terms of coming to us and telling us there was outreach and notice. It was just at the finish line.
The final.
Yeah.
The constituent calls.
Right.
Didn't, yeah.
And the reason I kept this or put this language in is I think it's going to end up there one way or the other. I think it smooths passage at full board. It keeps us consistent with what our chair sent
Yes.
in a letter. And I think if we don't have it in our resolution now, it's just going to end up there. We're going to have a whole discussion
right.
about whether or not they should revise it. And what we're hearing from DOT is it's pencils down for the moment until they get a signal from us. And I think this is the appropriate signal to send them. So what I told Ken was I didn't want to accept it as a friendly amendment, but I'm happy to have us vote on it. And I think if it's the sense of the committee to take it out, it puts us in a stronger position going to full board if that's what the committee decides, because then we can say, we discussed it, we voted on it, this is what the committee did, and then it
Ken,
puts
do
it
you
in
think
there.
that DOT would be less likely to move forward with a pilot because of this language in the resolution?
Yes, because I think it would take longer. It's a long process to do, just restart the whole outreach process. So I think we're talking about months potentially.
Okay, Howard, is your point different? Or is it
Oh,
the
my
same
point has
essentially?
nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay, then go ahead.
I just want to
sorry,
say I think it's a really masterful resolution. It's one of the best I've ever read. And I think there's a term I used to hear all the time decades ago, paralysis by analysis. We have had more outreach on this issue than any issue since my time on the committee board. Do we have every conceivable last piece of information? Absolutely not. But the way to get more information is to do a pilot. I think this is totally more than warranted. And so I
Thank you,
enthusiastic
Howard.
support.
Thank you, Howard. I haven't forgotten your possible friendly amendment. Let me just go through the comments and then we'll come back. Sophia, something different or the same?
I was just gonna respond to the comments that were criticizing dynamic pricing, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but some folks commented that it's already expensive to live in the city and that we would be taking away something that's free now. But I just want to remind people, and hopefully that people can think of this more as like, you're using an amenity now and you're not paying for it, and that doesn't feel fair. And I feel like dynamic pricing is a market-driven approach to this amenity, and it's basic supply and demand economics. So, and to me, at least, that feels more fair. And I'm really glad that Carrie brought this back. And I mean, SF Park in San Francisco and in LA, they have this and they've seen really positive results. Like the businesses make more money on those streets that have it. They've seen improved compliances and less ticketing. So, and that also addresses some of that double parking issues too that we talked about with safety. So just want to sing my praises for this.
Should I pay to kick a soccer ball with my daughter in Riverside Park because that's a public or amenity? And we're having
not trying to discourage that.
No, but I'm just saying is that like I'm paying, but people pay tons of tax. I mean, I think just like seeing what happened with this initial plan where they implemented it and because of the outrage from certain people, they went back and they just reversed it. Like maybe an idea is we already do have paid parking in this district. Perhaps it could be amended to say, try a pilot program for dynamic pricing in spots where you're already paying for parking instead of a pilot program that's going to go in and select for specific spots that people don't currently pay. Because say dynamic pricing ends up being really successful, right off the bat, I can guarantee you, if you start using a pilot program in areas where people aren't paying for it, you're going to infuriate people and it's going to become controversial, and you're going to lose people before you even have an opportunity to show them that it could be a good thing. So
Okay.
I would.
Let's have a, thank you, Andrew, for that. Doug, let's have a final comment from you and then
So the only question I have.
Amend and then we'll vote. Go ahead, Doug.
The only question I have is on the length of the pilot, right? Because we never really specified, I know you can't know for sure, but you know, I always worry about things that go into perpetuity. And I'm not a lawyer, but you know, you can't even have a contract that goes into perpetuity. It's not legal. So can we have a guideline of how long this pilot could be, a range? Is it 6 months? Is it 3 months? Is it a year? Is it 18? I don't, you know, just because what I'm concerned about is that we've said certain things that before, oh, we'll check back and see how it's coming. And then people don't check back. And so what are we saying? How long is a pilot?
To briefly respond, the pilot was initially conceived as being part of the Smart Curbs program, and it would still be part of the Smart Curbs program. So DOT is testing a number of different initiatives from micro hubs to loading zones throughout this entire area. And so this is all part of that. And I think as what we heard from DOT was they were trying out all of these different ideas to decide whether or not any of them had merit in being expanded or modified citywide. So I think this is all part of that, and it isn't that we're trying to put an end on a portion of the whole test. It's part of the Smart Curbs program, so it's whenever DOT wraps up its work on that.
Okay. Jamie,
Not
Jamie,
to sound like a lawyer, but at least a paragraph. Sub B.
What?
Everyone,
Discuss the Smart Curbs program. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I'm running this part.
With Donald
Yes,
Shoup,
go
when
ahead.
he proposed his pricing plan, some money would always go back to the community.
Yes,
Yeah.
or
And-
to
And does the revenue here go to the city's general fund, or does it go back to the community?
Great question.
And I think he addressed that question because that was one of our questions too. And my understanding of it is that by law, all of the money has to go back to the general fund. So it is something that the community board has ability.
But I'll add that if with this pilot successful, we could work on that in the future. This is, again, it's a concept.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the specifics of how long, where, exactly what time, we don't have, it's just to employ the concept in a small area and see how it works.
So I would remind us that, and Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your resolution. This resolution asks DOT to reminds them about notice, proper community notice, and then asks them to bring the pilot back before us essentially, for reconsideration, it might have the same footprint, it might have the same parameters, it might have the same time frame. It might not. But it's basically, let's re-enliven this. Let's not let it die because of all of the pushback it received in the summer.
Where does it say that
For
they have to
failure
come
to-
back to the community board?
It doesn't have to come back.
No, well, you just
But we
said,
could
you
call
just said
it
that
that.
it would. You
Well,
just-
and I think
I
that's
just wanna
part
see,
of,
I
I
is
think
it
it's
there?
part of
You wanna put that in?
solicit
No,
and
you just said it was
engaging,
there. I
but-
want to see, it's not there. I'm not trying to contradict you. I thought I
No, I
heard
don't
you
see it
say,
there.
I did say
And
that
it-
because presumably it
aligns
would come
with-
back as it has, as they bring all of their proposals to us. The bike
Colleen said
plan.
it would come back.
Yeah, I mean,
I think codifying that would.
Okay.
I don't think after what's
All right.
just happened, they're gonna bypass us and go forward
I'll
with
make a
this
friendly
again.
amendment. They should report back on the results of the pilot. How's that?
Well, I think you
that's
want to have
after
a
the fact.
conversation.
Yeah.
Before
He's
that.
he's talking about presenting.
I'm not, I only brought it up because Jimmy said that it's implied that they have to come back. I did hear Colleen say that earlier they're going to come back. That pencils are down now for the current thing because of what happened. But
It says-
it's, we're not expressly calling
Right.
for it. It's just a
And
question.
I think it would be encompassed, and I don't think we need to say that they return to us, but that they resume implementation following adequate supplemental notice to residents, and that would include.
Does this not?
And that's them, and I think that's part of what, yes, that is also solicit feedback from the community, and we're weighing in here as part of that, but I think they would have to come back and I think they would come back and tell us.
That's the impression I
here's what's
got.
going on. Yeah.
Tell us, not
You see
necessarily
this
ask us,
section?
but I understand.
Or they
This
get another
section,
letter.
Doug, right here that's highlighted, I think that implies community board. I don't know that we need to say including community board 7.
And
I
so,
agree.
and my
Also-
just point about whether it's metered parking or unmetered parking, is that specified anywhere else, or are we just presuming that it would be unmetered parking where this pilot would take place?
So their determination was that they were going to do this in unmetered zones adjacent to the avenue. They were separately making changes to the metered parking on the avenue, but also, we do say as part of solicit feedback on location of the parking zone.
Which
And
means
I
there's
think
no
you
reason
will
why it could not be metered.
Right.
I believe what had been implemented was alternate side of the street parking to then, paid parking. Yeah.
And there's no addressing in this version to Andrew's point about.
Correct, we haven't gotten to that.
Okay.
So do you want to make a friendly amendment that would strike out language
Sounds like,
chiding?
it sounds like it'll be unfriendly. What I'm hearing.
I think we should have a vote on it,
Yeah,
but,
okay, then it's-
I don't take umbrage at
Yeah.
proposing.
So Ken is asking to remove the expeditiously solicit, specifically
Mhm.
to solicit, because he's worried that will invite them to spend more
Are you
time
on it, Terry? I don't know.
soliciting.
Right here,
Well,
document.
Don't you want expeditiously though, so that it shortens the
It
time?
would be deleting this and the previous reference to the same,
Oh,
way up in the body of the document. We'd have to go in and take out that reference.
We want it to be expeditiously, but, yeah. I don't
It
know.
was-
You don't wanna go through-
My amendment is to get rid of the entire paragraph that says, be it further resolved, community board 7, calls upon DOT to solicit and
Yeah, he's
evaluate
highlighted
treatment.
Correct.
Because they've already done that.
Because they've already done it, and because
So
it
we
will
should vote on it.
delay implementation.
And are
potentially
you,
by months.
you're not accepting that as a friendly amendment?
I think we should vote on it, yeah.
Okay,
Let's go.
let's go.
I need a second.
Second.
I was waiting for Howard?
All those in favor of
Yeah. All those in favor of Ken's,
taking out that there.
motion?
Okay, it fails.
Okay. Okay, so now, would somebody like to call the question on?
Call the question.
Thank you.
Now, just
We're now voting
Now
we're
on
voting on
Carrie's resolution as it stands. Yes, thank you.
Without,
oh, can you just go back to, I'm sorry,
we're not
That's
going
right,
to
that's
address
we're-
Andrew's comments about, you do not, okay.
It,
This
not
as
beyond
is.
what.
Okay.
Here's the resolution. See it?
you know,
Well, we see something. Okay, are you ready, Andrew, Richie?
yeah, let's just, go.
Okay, all those in favor of the,
Carries resolution.
of Carrie's resolution, I was gonna use the actual title. All those in favor of Carrie's resolution?
Yeah, I'll say yes.
7. All those opposed? All those abstaining? I'm missing.
I'll probably vote for it at full board. The thing with me is just yeah. I mean, I think the issues that Andrew, that you raised are sticking with me a little bit about just not being clear about the neighborhoods, the parts of the neighborhood that are gonna be impacted by this. But I could get around that. I just trying to avoid what we went through this last
Jay
month.
missed tonight.
But it was incredibly, I mean, I just.
Very
the amount
well,
of
I mean,
data and information, I think at a minimum, what this is gonna be great for
Is a
is
case.
for Colleen to be able to see. And hopefully it will make, I mean, it'll make her look great before whoever she takes it to at DOT, because I'm sure they haven't done this level
And
of
A
research.
master
And that's
class.
the whole, right?
And I,
Yeah.
I'm not looking
We should write it.
for more wordsmithing, but this always can be amended at full board.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hold you here another 5 minutes. Very quickly, new business. There is do you mind that I mentioned the joint meeting? The parks.
Sure.
Yeah, 9:15 on Monday, 9:15, there is a joint meeting with the Parks and Environment Committee on the very exciting and talk about dynamic issue of horse-drawn carriages.
Oh, yeah.
So any of you who can be there,
Talk about
please.
issues that never go away.
Yeah, I know.
Please
And that
join
tight
if you
mayoral-
And if we could,
Didn't the Central Park?
wait,
Yeah,
guys,
sorry.
if we could just,
They did, right?
one thing, if we could ask you along those lines, if you could please read the email that we're gonna forward to you. It has all of the information, a lot of data.
To answer
and
that
articles.
question.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be very clear with the Parks Committee that the people who are coming to the meeting are not just the people from the Conservancy, but the people from the TWU,
Yeah.
Christina Hansen, and also from the precinct.
Right.
um,
So
law
I was asked vis-a-vis the co-chairs of Parks through Jamie to contact the commanding officer of the Central Park Precinct. I spoke with him today. He has assured me that he will have he may be there, he has a training, but he will either be there in person or Zoom or have a representative in person or Zoom on Monday night.
And we're very grateful
And
to
we'll-
Doug for
we'll-
the outreach.
Was it, oh yeah, and he's not going to opine on whether he supports the legislation, he's just going to speak to the facts of what has happened over incidents and data as it relates to horse-drawn carriages. It will be fact-based.
Okay, I have no other old or new business, so let's.
All right.
All
Great
right.
discussion.